and welcome to another installment of my in-depth bookshelf tour. And my dog was just barking at something. I don't know what was going on there. For this video, I'm going to be doing the books that are on this shelf right over here. I don't know how well you can see where my arm is, but there's books over here. There are 14 books on this shelf. I may split it to 7 and 7 just to make them not quite so long, even though they're going to be really long anyway. So let's go ahead and jump right in. The first book on that bookshelf is this one. It is the original illustrated Sherlock Holmes 37 short stories and a complete novel from the Strand magazine. I don't know how much I really need to talk about this, but because it's kind of self-explanatory, it's Sherlock Holmes by Arthur Conan Doyle. Here are the original Sherlock Holmes stories by Arthur Conan Doyle as they first appeared in the British magazine The Strand. This periodical was the library sensation of its time, especially with the publication of the novel The Hound of the Baskervilles, which appears in its entirety in this volume, when eager readers lined up outside the magazine's London offices waiting for each installment as it came off press. This edition contains 37 short stories reproduced in complete facsimile, published in individual volumes as The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, The Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, and The Return of Sherlock Holmes, plus the complete novel The Hound of the Baskervilles. The next book on that shelf, these are all fairly massive. The next book is If by Sea, The Forging of the American Navy from the Revolution to the War of 1812. It looks like that. When the American colonies took up arms against Great Britain, they were confronting the greatest sea power of the age. The American Navy was born when the first shots were fired at Lexington and Concord in April 1775, although the new Continental Fleet ultimately proved far too weak to make any significant contribution to the war effort. But it was during the War of Independence that America took its first steps toward becoming a naval power. America's path to worldwide naval supremacy was not a simple one. The Founding Fathers fought strenuously over whether or not the fledgling nation truly needed a deep water fleet. A navy built on the British model would be crushingly expensive. It might also lure America into foreign wars that would destabilize the nascent republic. The argument over the opportunities and dangers of a blue water fleet lasted through 4 administrations. The debate ended only when the Federal Navy proved indispensable during the War of 1812. Drawing on 15 years of research, historian George C. Dahan, chronicles the embattled origins of the United States Navy. From the bloody and gunpowder-drenched battles fought by American seamen from Bunker Hill to Tripoli to New Orleans, to the fierce, rhetorical combat waged by the founders in Congress, If by Sea masterly charts the course by which the Navy became an essential and celebrated American institution. The next book on that shelf is The Last 1,000 Days of the British Empire by Peter Clarke. It looks like that. Winston Churchill's declaration in November 1942 is just as the tide of the Second World War was beginning to turn, pugnaciously affirmed his loyalty to the worldwide institution that he had served for most of his life. Britain fought and sacrificed on a worldwide scale to defeat Hitler and his allies, and won. Yet less than 5 years after Churchill's defining speech, the British Empire effectively ended with Indian independence in August 1947 and the end of the British Mandate in Palestine in May of 1948. As the sun set on Britain's empire, the age of America as world superpower dawned. How did this rapid change of fortune come about? Peter Clarke's book is the first to explore the abrupt transition from Rule Britannia to Pax Americana. He shows how Roosevelt and his successors were determined that Britain must be sustained both during the war and after, but that the British Empire must not, and how the tensions between Allied war aims, suppressed while the fighting was going on, became rapidly apparent when it ended. His swiftly paced narrative draws on letters, diaries, and a host of other primary sources to put us vividly in the presence of the figures around whom history pivoted. Churchill, Gandhi, Roosevelt, Stalin, Truman, and other lesser-known individuals through whom Clarke brilliantly shows the human dimension of epochal events. The Last 1,000 Days of the British Empire is a captivating work by a master historian showing how the events that followed the war reshaped the world as profoundly as the conflict itself. The next one is Timeline by Michael Crichton. Michael Crichton's new novel opens on the threshold of the 21st century. It is a world of exploring advances on the frontiers of technology. Information moves instantly between 2 points with without wires or networks. Computers are built from single molecules. Any moment of the past can be actualized, and a group of historians can enter, literally, life in 14th century feudal France. Imagine the risks of such a journey. Not since Jurassic Park has Michael Crichton given us such a magnificent adventure. Here, he combines a science of the future, the emerging field of quantum technology, with the complex realities of the medieval past. In a heart-stopping narrative, Timeline carries us into a realm of unexpected suspense and danger, overturning our most basic ideas of what is possible. The next book is called The Pirate Coast, and it is by Richard Zacks, who also wrote The Pirate Hunter. And this is about Thomas Jefferson, the First Marines, and the secret mission of 1805. The declaration of war by Tripoli in 1801 marked the first foreign policy test of Thomas Jefferson's... butchering Thomas Jefferson's name. Okay. Of Thomas Jefferson's administration. Then, on Halloween of 1803, the unthinkable happened. The USS Philadelphia accidentally ran aground in Tripoli harbor, and the Barbary pirates captured 300 U.S. sailors and Marines. The Muslim ruler renamed the frigate the Gift of Allah and held the Americans as his slaves to be auctioned at his whim. Oh, and newspapers around the world proclaimed America's shame in headlines. Faced with this hostage crisis and an ongoing war with Tripoli, Jefferson dispatched diplomats and Navy squadrons to the Mediterranean, but he also authorized a secret mission to overthrow the government there. This is the story of America's first overseas covert operation, one of the strangest, riskiest, most compelling adventures ever undertaken for love of glory and country. Interesting. The next book is Shades of Hiawatha, Staging Indians, Making Americans, 1880 to 1930. Not sure why I have so many historical books. Never really gotten a lot into them, but I guess now I will because I have a good amount of them. A century ago, it was the U.S. government policy to sever the tribal allegiances of Native Americans, limit their I tell you, I can't even talk today. A century ago, it was U.S. government policy to sever the tribal allegiances of Native Americans, limit their ancient liberties, and coercively prepare them for citizenship. At the same time, millions of new immigrants from Asia and Europe sought freedom in America by means of that same citizenship. In this subtle, eye-opening work, Alan Trachtenberg, what a great name. Alan Trachtenberg argues that the two developments were inevitably juxtaposed in myriad ways. Indians and immigrants together preoccupied the public imagination and together changed the idea of what it meant to be an American. The next book on the shelf, and maybe the last one of this video because it's going to get really long otherwise, is The Lost City of Z, A Tale of Deadly Obsession in the Amazon by David Grann. It looks like that. I have this Deadly Obsession in the Amazon, and it has pictures in it. Let's see if I can show you a couple of them. There they are. I don't know why there's pictures. I don't know who they are because I haven't read this yet. $3 for this, so I thought, go ahead and pick that up. A grand mystery reaching back centuries, a sensational disappearance that made headlines around the world, a quest for truth that leads to death, madness, or disappearance for those who seek to solve it. The Lost City of Z is a blockbuster adventure narrative about what lies beneath the impenetrable, I can't say impenetrable, I'm telling you. What lies between, can't talk today, guys, God. Okay. The Lost City of Z is a blockbuster adventure narrative about what lies beneath the impenetrable jungle canopy of the Amazon. And that just sounds really cool. I'll show you another picture of it. Another picture from it. Looks like that. Alright guys, I think that's going to be it for this video because I think it's going to get pretty long anyway and I'll just do the other ones later. I might actually film that right now, but I'm not going to put them together because that's going to get really long and I don't think you want to sit here and listen to me blabber on for a long time because you probably already don't like me blabbering anyway, because I do. I blabber all the time, and it's kind of a problem sometimes. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next installment of the second shelf. Sometime or another. Bye!